Good morning again. I'm Lisa Barnes, professor at Rush. Glad to be moderating this session with my esteemed colleagues. Why don't we start first by, I'm going to introduce you all, and then you tell me a little bit about what your community emphasis is. And then we're going to, just do question and answers with the audience. Is that okay? We just heard from Dr. Flatt, so everybody knows him, right? Okay. He's an assistant professor at at UNLV, right where we are, School of Public Health, Department of Social and Behavioral Health, sorry. We also have Mr. Harry Evans. Hi. He is the owner of He Trains LLC and the founder of Heal Black Man, a grassroots nonprofit organization that creates safe and therapeutic spaces for Black men. Yes, welcome. And we have Dr. Larry Wallace, Jr. He's the first Black mayor of Manor, Texas, and the only Black mayor in the Austin metropolitan area during his term. So I would like for each of you to give us a brief synopsis of what you do to help Black men, and what your area of expertise is. So we'll start
with me. Okay. Yeah. So some of the research that we are doing here in Las Vegas, we are leading what's called the RISE Registry, Research Inclusion Supports Equity. It's one of the first federally supported research registries focused on engaging the LGBTQIA+ community. And we're specifically focused on recruiting LGBTQIA+ community members who are people of color, who may be experiencing memory loss, or they're a caregiver of someone who is experiencing memory loss or dementia. So in that, in the registry, it's a way, one, to share about the importance of the visibility of the community in the research, but it's also focused on identifying resources throughout the community so that we can connect them to those. So if you want to learn more about it, it's called the riseregistry.org. And so you can learn about it, sign up if you're a community member, and also share some of the resources. So that's what we've been doing here locally. And actually brought one of my community members who serves on the advisory board, Judy Bowenweiner, today. So yeah.
Thank you. Okay.
All right. Well, I'm from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. That is where most of my work takes place, I would say. With Heal Black Man, the goal is to, continuously create consistent safe spaces for Black men and introduce healthy coping mechanisms, change the narrative around just a Black man in general and what comes to mind to the general, when you think about the general public and, the picture that comes behind the Black man. So having the tough conversations regarding those taboo topics and stuff like that, and doing those things and creating those spaces has opened up a lot of doors for me to now work in research. And it's like a full circle moment to be here in this space, because the very first year, there was a Black woman in the crowd named Shanette Merrick who found me on social media, found Heal Black Man on social media, and needed help with their development of getting Black men to show up and take care of their health. And this conference is exactly where we met for the first time. And then from there, I met another Black woman that's not too far away, Dr. Shaw, who brought me in to partner at KU. And it just really shows how important the Black Men's Brain Health Conference is, because the community that has been created over the last 2 to 3 years has been beautiful. And so I'm just grateful to be here and be in this space.
That's beautiful. Thank you.
So I'm here with Larry Wallace Sr., sitting back there with his head down, probably writing some notes. He is our founder and current executive director for the Black Men's Health Clinic, where I serve as co-founder and board president. And our focus is care coordination, patient navigation for men of color, particularly those that are Black. And we work with, initially, intentionally with providers, both ones that are funded through our own tax dollars and that we pay for a collaborative accountability to better engage and better provide services for people of color. And we do this at no additional cost to any of our clients.
Wow, that's amazing. Great. So this is really a forum for you all to ask questions, but I want to start off with the first question. I want to just know, like, what was the impetus for you doing this? I mean, it's not just because you two are Black men and, you know, you had to have something that made you say, hey, I want to help in this way. What was that?
For me, it was my own personal experience with depression and not having a full awareness on my own mental health, because I was conditioned to really not register those feelings, not really sit in those things and really think them through. But it took for like another person that was very near and dear to me, a best friend, to just do a wellness check, to just see. He was the one to notice that something was off about me. I was super, functioning depressed person, but to have someone actually do a wellness check on me and somebody that I trust do that, it created an awareness for me to know that that was a blessing. And as a Black man, I know that there are other people out there that look like me that don't have that person that's going to do that wellness check. And so that's what sparked it all, to create spaces where Black men can create that awareness for themselves, or we can create that amongst the community, foster, a good support system there.
That's really powerful and so courageous. So I really applaud you for that. Is Heal Black Men all ages or just?
It's all ages. I would say right now though, well, thanks to being in research, it's all over the place now. At first it was just like a median about like maybe 30, 35. But now it's all over the place. So many doors have opened. I'm working with youth through the National Alliance on Mental Illness, and then the research side of things. So the young adults, it's all over the board now.
Yeah.
All because I just all because I decided to be vulnerable.
Right. Thank you.
I would say the birth of the Black Men's Health Clinic came from two different perspectives. One from Larry Sr., 35 plus years in healthcare executive administrative capacities, working with federally qualified health centers, creating clinics and so forth, and still seeing the gaps and the hindrances and the barriers, even though that is the mandated mission. And too often for underserved, underrepresented communities, even those clinics and those spaces still feel like you're poor, you don't have insurance, so take what you get and be happy with it. And then from my background, being a veteran and academic and a little bit of healthcare, but primarily from local politics, especially during COVID in Texas, Winter Storm Uri, when all that happened, seeing this over-reliance on waiting for someone else to make a decision to take care of your own folks. And how there was also this regional structure that places everything primarily in the big city. And so when there is a disaster, everything gets restricted back to the big city and leaves everybody in the rural areas without. And so we have intentionally created a system, more of a system than just a clinic, a system that tries to repair where a lot of that systemic, intentional, yet also unintentional barriers exist.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Dr. Flatt?
Mine comes from, I think, being a member of the LGBTQ plus community, but also back in 2015, I had a unique opportunity with my husband to move from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania to San Francisco. And when I was there, initially I was kind of reluctant to do research specifically with LGBTQ plus community members. I also had a bias of like, how are their needs any different from everybody else's? And I got my sort of first grant, and I went and met with 20 different LGBTQ plus seniors, going into their home and spending a couple of hours just learning from them. These are pioneers. These are people that fought for the rights so that I can be married to my husband, rights that I don't have to worry about being who I am at work. And so it really shaped in terms of just what they've contributed, but also I learned from how they overcame hardships. And so that once I finished those interviews, I was pretty much like, these are my people, and I need to do something and work with them to create research that's for them. And so that's what motivated me to kind of launch this area, and it's just continued.
That's great. And I just want to say that because of Dr. Flatt's courage, we now are asking questions in the Alzheimer's Consortium about sexual identity, things we had never even thought about before. So it takes that kind of, courage and motivation and perseverance to move the field forward. So are there questions from the audience? We have all this great talent up here. We have someone with the mic, please. Please let us know who you are and give us your question.
Hi, I'm Chris Carey. I'm at Indiana University. I would love to just hear you speak about your experience on actually developing these safe spaces for Black men. I kind of hinted towards it with the last speaker about in our research how we try to basically set up community participatory research and have that community buy-in, and kind of how Dr. Barnes described, it is about 90% women. And then when we do actually speak to the males, like they're aware that there's a problem, but it's still been hurdles or challenges getting them like in the door to actually mix and mingle with us.
Good question. I think that, the answer to that, from my perspective, is really using people of influence in the community leaders, as that tool or the bridge to be able to get through to the community. That's how, that's the vehicle to making it cool, in my opinion, making it culturally correct and making it right off the bat just feel organic. That's always my intention, to make things organic, not feel like some sort of a show, not feel like, I'm checking boxes. And that is something that from the very start, I've been very intentional about holding institutions or whoever I'm working with accountable to make sure that things are organic and not feeling like a script or out of a book. Give me the autonomy to go and recruit or talk about the things, educate in our way, speak our language. It has to be nearly 100% culturally correct. And so I think that's the way it's got to be, because otherwise the people in the community, especially the Black community, is going to call BS quick. I'll tell you, no, I don't want to do that.
They haven't taken the mic, so I'm going to slip in another question. Do you think that could be the issue, is that like when we, so the project is called Diabetes Impact Project in Indiana, right? And do you think the issue could be is that we came in and they did find people from the community that looked like them, AKA Black people, but still we came in as researchers. Yeah. Do you think that could be the issue?
Yeah, absolutely. It's the approach. I think it's the approach. I don't know exactly how, what the rollout looks like, of course, but I'm sure it has something to do with that. And then what the setting really looked and felt like. And when I say that, it goes back to saying, like, is this culturally correct? When the guys show up, like, how are we setting this? How are we laying out this setting? Like, is it a DJ there that play music that, that's appropriate to our community? Do you have people there that, it's an influence thing, I would say. It just starts with community leaders and influence. People who can just, and when you think about people who throw parties and all that type of stuff, and they get people to come, to show up to party, those same type of people can be educated to deliver the message, because we need it to get people to show up and have fun, not necessarily party behind research, but I'm saying people who are of influence, whatever works at this point. But I think that those people have to be educated to be able to do that as well. Does that make sense, or no?
And one thing I would add is making sure that whatever you do, in whatever capacity, oftentimes, especially in this room, in this group, you're doing research, you're doing something new in some aspect, trying to find something out. You have to have an entrepreneurial mindset. Too often, we fall back to what our role and what our mission is and what our organization is. And we don't remember that we have to look at things entrepreneurially. What is the interest of the particular target population we're going for? If we try to cater to everyone, we will never get the target group we're looking for. If we go in with our assumptions and knowledge, our previous understanding of research, then we potentially, as stated here, we potentially bring things in that actually turn our target population off. And so, as it was stated in your presentation, yes, you know where you're coming from, you know what your target is, you know what you're trying to gather. But do you truly understand the target population that you're looking for in one community, in one neighborhood, compared to another community in another neighborhood, so it doesn't look cookie cutter?
Yep.
Because that is the worst thing you could ever happen when trying to actually find out what the true reality is. Kind of like the Marines. They say sometimes it's better to understand 75% of the problem than trying to find out 100%. But at the same time, if that one statement that was said before, people do not care about your knowledge until they understand how much you truly care. That means you cannot create a solution unless you actually know 100% of the issue.
Wow, that's powerful, and I thank you. I just want to follow up with that because, you know, that's what we were doing in the community. Like when we started, when I said give first, you know, for years, just going and working with communities, I was watching, I was learning what that culture was, you know, what that particular organization was about, what was important to them, what were some things that turned them off by other researchers, so that I could use that, you know, to not make those same mistakes. But it took years to do that. And that's what a lot of researchers don't want to do. They don't have the time or they don't have the interest. It is a full-time commitment to be able to learn your community so that you don't make those mistakes. Where's my person? Can you give the mic?
Hi,
Oh,
yes.
there, sorry.
Hi, thank you all. My name's Kua Mausiapara, and I'm representing UC Berkeley and the Mental Health Association of Alameda County. I'm here from Oakland, California. And I had to really fight to be here. I was actually told by my agency that they couldn't fund me coming here as an assistant director for a mental health agency because brain health wasn't relevant to mental health. And I had to basically write a case for how brain health is actually related to mental health. And thank God I won, and I'm really happy to be here. Thank you. You know, we have some pioneers in Oakland, speaking of the entrepreneurial mindset, like Mr. Fab. He's an Oakland-based rapper, and he has started something called Thug Therapy that's really focused on like youth and also multi-generational for all Black men of different generations to come together. And then there's also another network called the Brotherhood of Elders, which is something my father was a part of. But these things are really for Black men only. Like women are women identified are not allowed to come to some of these closed sessions. So I have this opportunity to ask you all today, as someone who is in charge of a space, a community space, what does a safe space for Black men look and feel like? Thank you.
Great question.
I would probably go back to what I stated earlier, which is making sure you don't go cookie cutter, right? Because what is a safe space for me is not going to be the safe space for my father, the safe space for him or him, right? And so again, it's understanding who may have more comfortability being in front of a lady, who may have more comfortability being in front of an older gentleman versus a younger gentleman that has, like I am 100% veteran disabled, right? And my comfortability of speaking about any of my PTSD and so forth is with someone that understands not just combat arms, being in next to an IED and so forth, but the human resources side of having to do and write Purple Hearts and memorializations and so forth, right? So it's better to take the time and understand the population and create different pockets of safe spaces until your organization is known for taking the time out to intentionally create safe spaces. That's what's going to start bringing more people to you and answering the questions you're trying to find out.
All right. I believe that authenticity, keeping things organic, those are two big things. Oh, and the space cannot have women in it. Like, absolutely cannot. I mean, you all can be a part of putting it together and the behind the scenes things that make it work. Like an example, Shanette Merrick and The Good Life having Barbershop Talk. Barbershop Talk is an online men's group where people tap in from all over the country, and every single week men come together and pick a different topic every week, and we talk about those things. It's called Barbershop Talk for a reason, because historically that was a place and still is a place that Black men find as a safe space, and that is a very authentic and organic space. There are tons of different conversations going on. There may be a guy that's talking a lot, and maybe a guy over in the corner that's not, but he's still soaking up that information. And sometimes, a lot of times, I've seen the quiet guy actually evolve into this person that talks, but he was empowered by the people in that authentic space where people can just be them. But you drop one woman in that room and everything changes, because people second guess what they're gonna say, or they may never say anything at all. Men try to save face for certain things, and it just really muddies the water. So we definitely need the support of women to be able to make it work, definitely, because we're not that good at organizing things. And sometimes just really thinking things through and having that voice of reason shows why community as a full, a wholeness, has to exist. You all may not be able to be in the room, but you are still.
And we have a question here.
Thank you. Hi, I am Shanette Merrick. So hello, everyone. I'm super honored to be here for the third year. I love this conference. I just feel very invigorated by the conversations that we're having around community-based participatory research. I am a researcher by profession, but I am also part of this community, of the Black community. And it's always been really important to me that we engage the community. And I feel like it was a fight always working in the institutions and hearing the conversations around participation or engagement in Black communities. So I did start the Good Life program for healthy aging around brain support, brain health, dementia, Alzheimer's disease, particularly regarding engagement in the Black community. And one of the programs that I started after we realized that Black men were not showing up to our online exercise and nutrition programs because there was way too many women, is I started Barbershop Talk, and I hired within the community. That was always very important to me, to go into the communities and hire people from the community, which is where I met Harry Evans, and we all came to this conference. So this is a really beautiful full circle moment. I am based out of Oakland, so the young woman that was over there, I don't know where she went. I think maybe she ran out. But I would love to connect with you because it is really important that we all kind of band together and do this work. It's really important. And the more that we work together, the stronger that we are. But I think Craig has something to say, so I'm going to pass the mic.
Thank you very much. My name is Craig Sullivan. Pleasure to be here for the third time. I am part of TGL. I am the host of Barbershop Talk, Brothers Building Brothers. And I just want to speak to the safe space that you guys are talking about as far as the barbershop. As a community leader cutting hair for the last 30 years, I've seen a lot of traumatic and declining in some of my clients as they've gotten older. So I want to know, how do you guys seek spaces like mine? So I consider myself a caregiver. I consider the corner store man a caregiver. I consider the bartender a care provider, because these are the places where a lot of people from the community go. They feel safe, and those people who serve them have to have a bit of logical mindset to know that some people come in hurt, they change. And, we're talking about community base, and I really like that part, because the gumbo can't get made without the root. And I'm down at the bottom, and I deal with these people all the time, cats who sit in the chair and start sweating after they sit down. I've had people pass out in the chair and they don't know what's going on, but they trust me. And I'm like, dude, you need to go to the doctor. We have blood pressure machines. We have people who come in and talk about, oh, you might be pre-diabetic, just to plant the seed. So, when you talk about, I know you guys are studying at the top, but I'm studying at the bottom. And we need to be involved with this research so we can bring it together in a healthy cohesiveness.
So that was perfect. And that's exactly what I mean by influence. That's a man of influence. He touches a different, probably 20 different men individually a day. And that's different conversations. That is a place where Black men gather. And so, and they come to their barber, a person that they can trust. If you could trust a man with your do, well, I could trust anybody with mine now, just don't cut my head. But if you could trust somebody with how you look, I think that's what sets the tone for vulnerability, especially where there's not a lot of places or spaces for us to do that. And so it just naturally happens.
So I'll tie a couple of themes that have been going on today with my response. One, first, I want to speak to the fallacy that men and women cannot exist in the same room and have intentional conversations. How many times have we seen someone that's a female cutting our hair and we still have the conversation? Or someone, you say, man, she cool, I ain't got no issue with her. So again, it goes back to understanding where the comfortability factor is. So I say that for the ladies, don't naturally self-select yourself out. Know where you fit in first and whether or not you're the right person to be in the room. The second piece, if you go to our website, blackmenshealthclinic.org, we actually have a program called Healthy Cuts. And I think what I'm going to tell you regarding our Healthy Cuts program goes back again to the cookie cutter process. One, you hear a lot of great success stories when it comes to barbershops and health, and as you just stated, but again, it's understanding, is that a natural conversation within that barbershop? Before you try to bring something in, and now you're forcing something within someone's professionalism, within someone's business, and potentially have them lose customers. So one of the things that we did within the Black Men's Health Clinic was actually providing $25 vouchers for haircuts for any time an individual got scheduled for an appointment through us or went to one of our workshops. And so that way we're not over asking a barber to become knowledgeable in health. We're not over asking to bring something that's not a natural conversation into an area where I'm just coming to get my hair cut. I'm not here to have that conversation. Therefore, I don't want to come back and I cause him to lose business. In this sense, it was more of a factor of saying, hey, It's easy for the barber to say, do you want $25 off your next haircut? If anybody said that to you right now, do you want $25 off your next haircut? What are you gonna say? Nope. You're gonna say, yeah, tell me. And all that barber has to say is, well, go schedule an appointment with the Black Men's Health Clinic, and then they'll give you $25 to come back here off your next haircut. We have to find innovative, simplistic ways of bringing the health conversation into our safe spaces without making it intrusive to where we as Black men naturally resist against being forced to have a conversation.
I think that was good. That was really good, because I think it just goes back to, saying that people in the Black community can pick out when something's not right. When you have an agenda, like somebody's making you talk about something, when you're allowed to be able to have that organic conversation, that's when I think you see the most flowers form out of the concrete.
Hello, everybody. How everybody doing today? My name is Michael Tapman. I'm from Oakland, California. I'm part of the Good Life, here with Shanette Merrick, Craig Cook Sullivan. My question is, fellas, how can we get like the women, right? And I say this because we see the women, they always got stuff organized, they can get in groups, they can do stuff, but us men, we can't. And I say this because it's been going on for history, right? We had MLK, Martin Luther King, Black Panthers, all of them had different, things that they wanted to do to change the community, but they couldn't come together. So my question to these Black brothers, just like the young lady, she said she's from Oakland, right? A lot of these Black men, panels or different things, right? We be trying to connect with them, and we get a call like, all right, I'll connect with you, and then we don't hear nothing back. So it's like, it's something about Black men that we can't all come together. Like, it always gotta be, oh, I wanna lead over here, or I wanna lead over here, instead of us coming together with a common goal. So for all the Black men in here, how can we be like the women and get organized and be in unity like them? Until we get that problem solved, we gonna keep having problems. So Black men, look yourself in the mirror, stop envying, stop hating each other, and promote each other. How many of y'all is promoting each other and what y'all doing, right? He got Healed Black Men, we got barbers. How many people is cross-promoting each other businesses, right? Somebody wanna be on top instead of us being the same, and that's the problem. Everybody wanna be on top instead of being the same. So until we get that problem solved, we gonna keep talking about this year after year. So Black men, look yourself in the mirror, and we might need to get like some of these women to get our mind right, because right now they running the world and we behind. So stop hating Black men, stop envying each other, and work together. Thank you.
Can you all respond to that quickly?
Yeah.
I actually had a radio interview Saturday that kind of hit on that. And I would say one is understanding and realizing our deficits as men, right? And that is one of the things we realize within the Black Men's Health Clinic: care coordination, patient navigation, warm handoffs. Oftentimes, and I hate generalizing, but oftentimes, like me, as a guy, fire and forget. We don't have systems in place that really support that type of mentality. We always have to go to it. We always have to remember. We always have to put on a calendar. But where are the systems that are set up for the fire and forget people? We don't also, especially within healthcare, we don't have a place where you can just say, you know what, I'm about to travel somewhere. I don't know what I need to do. Let me call this number and they'll tell me what I need to do. And they'll help me get coordinated and set up, right? I would say sometimes this is where I've seen women to be better in that, especially compared to me. I need someone to hand walk me. No matter how professionalized, no matter how many different things I do, I need a hand walker because I will forget. And we don't have systems that really look and support that deficit as men, right? And then, yes, you're right, the competitive nature of the United States. Let's not forget, humanistically, the United States is about individual profit and success. By understanding that intrinsic trait, then how do we find a common core commonality. I just said common core commonality. I know that. How do we find that in a way that everybody gets lifted up and nobody is over another person? And again, how are we working with systems to help that system become better, more recognized, while at the same time, that system also understands its next level of being enhanced is also because of its partner?
So with that being said, we still need our women. Yeah, I always say, like, I need my type A person, and I'm definitely not type A. But when I have that person working with me, things work really smoothly. Things get done. Yeah. A lot of things don't, become forgotten. And I think in this context, that's how helpful. That's how important having women around are. And I'm sure there are far more reasons that that you all are valuable, but I'm saying just in this context and creating safe spaces and how you can be involved, it's that, and then getting your men to do it, because my wife can really push me to do some things too. She has a really creative way of reminding me on the same time every week or something like that. That's the third reminder, just so you know. You know what I'm saying? I don't see it, and I don't want to hear that no more. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna take care of whatever it is.
I have a question here. Where's the mic? You need the mic though. Sorry, so they can hear you online. It's coming.
Oh, right here.
Right here in the front.
My name is Helen Norman. I've been involved with the Black Men's Brain Health Initiative since the very beginning. This is the first time I've been able to attend a conference. I was writing the strategic plan for chronic disease prevention for the County of Santa Clara Public Health Department. And we were making the connection between chronic disease, Alzheimer's and dementia, or brain health, and the medical treatment for chronic disease. So I have a question about that. When I was first contacted by the initiative, it was to help the initiative spread the word about the work that was being done and about the conference. So since that time, I always send out information to the men to attend the conference and to the women who love and support them. Because we know that the caregivers are primarily women. Women should not be left out of the conversation, but not part of the conversation as some kind of ancillary person. We are integral to the care that our men receive for chronic disease, brain health, and any number of issues. So that's one thing. One of the things that we discovered in Santa Clara County is that we needed a multidisciplinary approach to brain health. The chronic disease, medical treatment. We know that a lot of our people are on medication for 15, 20 years for chronic disease. I believe there's a correlation between the chronic disease, the medical treatment, the medication, and brain health. How is the initiative addressing that correlation?
Personally, me, I do not feel qualified to speak to that, as I'm not a part of the initiative. So
I don't know if Monica wants to talk about it, but I can just briefly say that there is a correlation between chronic disease and brain health. We've known that for some time. And there are people doing studies to understand, is it the medication that they're taking, or is it something about the disease itself? But Monica can probably speak to what the initiative is doing to examine that.
Thank you so much, and thank you for your comments, sticking with us for so many years and getting the word out. And in terms of your question, absolutely, certainly, as Dr. Barnes said, we know the research shows that there are connections, but there's still a lot that has to be done. in Black men's brain health. I just want to keep bringing us back to Black men's brain health, because so much of this work is based on not just based on culture, but highly educated, high SES, non-Latinx white populations, and when we come to aging, oftentimes more women than men. So, here we have started this whole initiative thinking through an intersectional lens about how we can promote Black men, so ethnocultural identity and gender, as we try to start thinking about these issues. We've never had a conference theme focused on what you're bringing up, but certainly we have studies in our portfolio that some folks do look at this. But I think that this would be a great idea for a future conference theme. And we just submitted our renewal, so maybe we can work it in there. You want to say something else, Dr. Turner?
First of all, again, thank you for being with us for 3 years. The other thing I want to say is, you know what? There are brothers promoting other brothers, which is why the Black Men's Brain Health have them up here. So we're trying to do that.
Absolutely.
We are trying to do. But the other thing I do want to say is that, and we don't acknowledge them enough, you don't see them out in front so much. We had a whole pre-conference yesterday, but we have scholars that we're training to address questions in their research, exactly what you're talking about. So I do think we will have, find a way to have a platform discussion and maybe a whole conference around that. But just know we're training people to be able to do exactly what you're talking about.
And we're training them thanks to the Alzheimer's Association as well for their generous supports. We want to always be lifting them up and acknowledging them. Is that enough of an answer? Is that good enough for now? Okay, and we can talk more during the breaks and the meals. I had a quick question. I'm just going to jump in just to ask Dr. Flatt, speaking about taking this intersectional lens, your work is so important, and we are so delighted to have you and the perspective of the LGBTQ, QI community. But what about how you think about these things? How do you think we can get Black men more engaged in LGBTQIA research? Have you, specifically, what has been your experience specific with this population?
Well, as I kept hearing the conversations, I think the first part is to work on hearing from community members what they want and building trust with them. There is a large number of LGBTQ plus Black people that are fearful of disclosing that they're LGBTQ plus. So they want to understand, why do you want to know about my sexual orientation or my gender identity? What's that for? Sometimes they don't believe, why is it different? Why can't you just make services that, or do research that's for me? And why does it have to be specific? And so sometimes it does take having conversations, building trust, understanding how will their information be used, but also how will it be protected? So
That's
community
right.
members
That's
are
right.
afraid they'll be discriminated against if they share their backgrounds. Will someone use that to put me in a study I don't want to be in? Or will I have a choice in what I do? And so those are pieces we have to think about.
Really important. Harry.
That was a really good.
Yep, go ahead.
That was a really good point. I'm currently working with University of Wisconsin-Madison on a child support study with basically including Black men and trying to understand, what the roadblocks are, how they can be better helped to navigate the system. And recruiting for that is I personally asked for the $25 gift card blurb to be removed because I want to be able to connect with the people that I'm trying to recruit beyond just giving you something. You have to be able to trust that the information, trust me. You have to trust me because I'm going to be the one asking those questions, but also that, the questions that I ask and the information that's gathered is going to be safe because, there's a lot of different, stigma around child support. And that's a lot of stuff that people don't talk about. Men don't want to talk about. They don't want to talk about that information because it could potentially land them in jail. And this isn't the case. This is one of those things where, trying to get the information to better help, but you have to have that person that's available to make people feel comfortable. Excuse me. I'm good.
I want to highlight an unfortunate reality that really speaks to something we focused on last year within the Black Men's Health Clinic. And, you know, you're already talking about the disparities, the gaps, the feeling as if things are not created culturally competent or inclusive for you, just as people of color. And it's even more so for people of color that are also LGBTQ. Even more so. And even for us, when we say with the Black Men's Health Clinic that we're here, our target population is men of color, we even had to come to terms with what does that really mean even for us? People that self-identify, people that are transgendered and so forth. And so we had reached out and we created a partnership with an organization there in Austin called Queertopia and a couple other entities. And we realized we needed to fund a position specifically within that organization. And it was just amazing of the aspect of like, wow, you're looking at us as equals, just that was it, just looking at us as equals. But then it also came to the unfortunate reality too of the care you can trust, which is our slogan, and what almost every agency tries to provide when you're trying to give a safe space. Sometimes the people providing that care do not want to engage. And I think that becomes even a bigger problem and issue is an organization can want to go a certain direction, but then you still have to find the people providing the behavioral services, primary care services, specialty care services, wraparound services, also have to be open and receptive. And too often we go down a path and we do not set everything in place to give the proper care you can trust.
I think yes, thank you. I think these are such crucial conversations, and I can tell you that this is not something that we talk about in academia. So this has really been so eye-opening for me. And I feel like you are talking about making the invisible visible and the things that you're doing. And there's another researcher at Rush. She doesn't do brain health or aging, but she has a program specifically for non-resident fathers, because they are absent from the research, you know? So I feel like you are in the same vein, you know, and I'm learning so much. I just really, really thank you so much for sharing all of this critical information. I hope everyone's getting something out of it. How are we doing on time?
We have less than 2 minutes.
Okay, we have time for one more question. There's a person in the back. Oh, I'm sorry. She's been waiting so patiently. Thank you.
I would just like to say that all minority groups have got to learn to work together.
Introduce yourself, please.
I'm sorry.
What's your name?
Oh, Judy Bowen. I'm from the Stonewall riots in New York City in 1969. I'm 80 years old. What I've discovered through working with Dr. Jason is all minority groups have to learn to work together. People like me were illegal in the 60s. I'm a transsexual. I had surgery in 1972. I had to live several different lives just to survive. My life was almost taken from me 3 times because I was different. People of color and also the GLBTQIA, we're all in the same boat. We're fighting a system that will not recognize our legality, our whatever. But anyway, we're fighting a system that will not work with us. My days are almost over. But I have watched this because I grew up in the civil rights days with Martin. When Bayard Rustin was working with Martin Luther King, he was a speechwriter for Martin Luther King. He did the March on Washington. He was also one of our leaders in New York City. He lived a few blocks from me. Okay. Our government tries to destroy anyone that's different. I've seen this over and over and over. And it's not going to change. We're getting more politically involved, and politics is the way to go. We have to be real careful because we are expendable. My trans community, made up of largely people of all color, the ones that are more frequently murdered are the Black ones. It's all about hate and racism. But through the RISE organization, through Dr. Jason Flatt, I think that if we all learn to work together to rise to a different level, we can work with the system better. But we've come a long way, but For me, an 80-year-old, I can only look back and remember, I grew up in a racially mixed environment. Everybody hated me because I lived in a Black community. My best friends could not go to school with me because they were not the same color. Our system is a complete mess. And I only pray to God that it gets better. Because to be honest with you, it's not good at all. But I am so thankful to Dr. Platt for all that he's exposed me to over the years. We just recently met with a group of 40 transsexuals from all over the world. The trans people that are murdered more frequently are in Africa and also in other countries, but we seem to have more of a progress here in the USA because we have fought for everything we've earned. Thank you.
Absolutely. And
We have time for one more, if that's okay.
if you don't mind, real quick, I have an advocacy challenge just for the group, really based off of what you just got done saying. Advocacy challenge in two aspects. One is that in research, too often there's not research looking at what can be impacted right now for the community. And that's why a lot of people do not get involved, because research does not translate into impacting and providing services right now. And then the other aspect is just going to be around health, right? Too often, we do not create establishments that are really looking at individuals and finding ways to look at the equity aspect that takes longer than the butts and seats and no-show rates that most organizations are being evaluated by. If we can change those two things, a lot of what you're talking about is going to change too.
And I think you bring up a piece too, that we shouldn't be doing research just to know. We should be doing research so that we can act, so that we can lead change.
Yep.
And so that's what we need to tell our community members.
Thank you very much. I think we're getting the boot now. I want to thank my panel members. This was a really, really awesome experience for me. I have really learned so much. Please reach out to them throughout the day so you can learn more. But these are the conversations we need to be having right now, right today. Thank you.